What's going on? Cole Connor here. Today I want to talk about how I took this photo and edited it to look like this. I just released a video about how to get the editorial look on an interior design, architectural shoot with no flash. Now I'm going to show you how to turn those shots into editorial quality images using Lightroom. Let's get into it. My name is Cole Connor and I was put here to do three things: create, inspire, love. Thanks for being here. Let's get into it. Okay, I'm going to try to keep this one short and sweet. Per usual, I start with one of my presets and I make the adjustments from there. So let's jump into what some of these adjustments are. Okay, so this is from one of the interior design shoots I mentioned in the last video. If you haven't checked out that video, you can check it out here. This is the original image. Boom. That's out of camera. Lights off, gang. We have the light coming through the window. We have the light coming through this window. The light is pretty bright. Everything else is pretty dark. This is a 5 bracketed HDR image. I already have the 5 brackets merged. So let's take a look back. Boom. I want to just go through and show you what I'm kind of doing. So on the overall image, I just upped the exposure briefly. I had the contrast up. You see that makes a pretty large difference. Highlights down because everything coming from the window was so bright initially. I turned them down. Shadows, I'm not really loving adding additional shadow to these images, so I left the shadows as is. I turned the whites up a little bit, just a little teeny bit. Blacks, I've been loving putting the blacks down so it kind of also is more contrasting. It doesn't it's not looking shadowy. I don't really want it to look HDR, and I know it's not perfect, but it's about as editorial as I can get without using flash. Texture, I brought that up just a little teeny bit. You can barely notice. Vibrance, you see the difference here. Colors are just a little extra. I mean, that makes a huge difference. Boom, boom. Add that color back in. I didn't really mess with the tone curve on this one, but if you go down, I did play with the colors. So if you cut the yellow back up, I don't even know if I think that might have been a mistake because the yellows up makes it look so much better. This is actually a great example of sometimes I turn yellows or blues down to, because that's the color cast that's happening. But I mean, this looks so much better up. So I should have kept it up. I turned the blues down a little bit. I wanted to try to keep it natural to what the cabinets actually were, and I don't think they were quite this blue, so I brought those down a little bit. I also brought the oranges down, which I probably could have kept that up as well for this particular shot. Okay, I didn't mess too much with these color grading, like the midtones, the shadows, or the highlights. I turned the noise reduction up a little bit, because I was probably shooting at around 1000 ISO, but I'm not sure if it made too much of a difference for this shot. I removed the chromatic aberration, enabled profile lens. This was a 24-70 2.8 I was using. When I'm shooting architecturally or interior design, I try to shoot at 35 to 50 millimeters. I auto-aligned everything. That's all for the initial edits. Now, I did go back in with brushing. So let's take a look at this main brush here. So this is the biggest brush. Boom. As you can see, it's just not bright enough. It's too dark. So everything except for these windows, I had to go back in and brush up and make it brighter. So in this brush, I just upped the exposure. I made the blacks go down a little bit, and that's probably it. Now, this brush here, this is something I just started doing. You take that away. I felt like the shelves and some of the objects that they specifically put here to make look better were not really being highlighted, so I went back over and I just brightened them up. I think I saturated them a little bit. Okay, so for this particular one, yeah, I just turned up the exposure. That's literally all I did, and that I just felt like it made those areas pop more. Now here, let's see. I believe this was just to see. I just had a separate brush that didn't include this light here. It didn't include this light and a little bit up here. And I just added exposure and contrast because I felt like it wasn't quite bright enough. And then for this one, these cabinets were looking a little, the color was off. Like I wanted them to match. Yeah, see, it looks too yellow. So I just went in with that brush and I turned the temp down -4. Super simple. It's really not that complicated, but it went from this to this, and it looks great. Now, what I've also started doing is, for some reason, I'm feeling like I want to export the images, re-upload them, and then change a couple more things. So that's what I've been doing with some specific shots. So I exported it like this. I brought it back in, and I just added some contrast, turned the highlights down slightly, blacks down slightly, and I just felt like it was a better image. So that's what I did. For a lot of times, I'm wanting it to look more lower blacks, higher contrast, because I feel like that's what it would look like with the flash coming in. It wouldn't be shadowy. I want to accentuate the shadows. So that's been helpful for me. I'm also not going to worry about the window pools. I mean, this window is not even that clean, first of all, and they didn't want to see out this window, so I didn't worry about that at all for this particular image. If you want to see me edit any more photos in a specific way, let me know. I'm here to help. My name is Cole. There's presets, there's tools, there's all that stuff in the description. I'll catch you next time. Hi there. Thanks for watching. If you really liked it, maybe you'll like some of these too. While you decide, here's some music. Enjoy!